Okay, on to part 2 of converting a site into WordPress. And let's get into some of the coding that goes on behind the scenes. Just to refresh our memories, this is the site we're converting, and this was the conversion itself. This was done now in WordPress. So it's this original one we were looking at. And I'll just show you the CSS for this. So I was able to get all the files for the site. So I go through it, and I notice that there is a lot, there's some basic CSS there, but there's going to be a lot of very specific CSS selectors. For example, doing the sidebars. Well, we've already got sidebar CSS in WordPress. We don't need to replicate all of this. Some people think, well, I'll just take the CSS for the existing site and just copy it over. But in fact, you want to check what you've got. If it's close to what's going on in WordPress, you could go in and rename these, for example, so they match your theme files. Because we use some common names, some common CSS selector names in WordPress, and you might as well stick with those. It keeps it much simpler. You could, of course, convert them all over. I'm not saying that, but it makes sense. What's the easiest way to go? Well, this is a lot of extra CSS, and in fact, there's a whole lot of extra CSS that we don't actually really need here. It's kind of superfluous. It's going on and on and on. Plus, we have a lot of this already built into WordPress. So really, in a sense, I just ignore all of this. Here's a good example, actually. The menu system. I just keep using the one I've got that I'm familiar with, and I just make it look like the original menu system. So in fact, when we go over to here, I'll show you the actual child theme CSS. Here we go. We're just bringing in 2010 because we're using the 2010 theme. And I just start giving the right background colors. There's a background image for the top area there. Remember up top here we've got these little images. That's all done just through CSS, of course. Then we're just making sure we've got the right sizing for all of our main divs. Our wrapper, our container, our main area, content. We're giving just slightly different rules here than what's in 2010, not very different. And we keep going down through here. Then we get to access. This is our menu system that's already built into WordPress. All we're doing here is changing the images in the background and the colors. Maybe a bit of the sizing I think we did on this as well. And then here's where we get to the sidebar. We just want to make sure we have that menu arrow. Remember this menu arrow that goes in there? All we're doing here is making sure we insert that into the existing WordPress menu. So we're just changing little elements here and there. And look at that. And now we're getting to some changes that are for us specifically, like the slideshow. We had some CSS for that. Boom, we're done. That controls everything. There we're curving the boxes, making rounded corners on them. So a much smaller style sheet. Yes, there's a style sheet partly in 2010 as well, but really the changes that we needed to make were very, very small in terms of CSS. It's more when you get into functionality that you're going to notice some changes. For instance, we want to make sure we widgetize that bottom area. Now WordPress had, in 2010, had 4 areas built in to the bottom. We're just adding a 5th footer widget area. That's all we need. And we create that, and then the client has complete control over those. They wanted a message area back here at the top. This phone number below the search box, they can add in text in there. That's the phone number they add in. And that's all done through this widget area that I create here, header message area. Very, very simple to do. And then on our home page, remember we wanted that slideshow on the home page. They wanted to be able to put in pictures. They actually didn't want it to go all the way across the way it did. They wanted the title of the page, which was not on the original site. Originally it was just this sort of ad up here. They actually wanted the title of the page to show up there, and then they wanted to just show an image as if it was a photo. They didn't want to make it look like an ad. Okay, so we go over and we do this. We create a special template for the home page. Again, this is all taken from the original 2010 page.php. And we just go in here and we start our slideshow. Now the slideshow is going to be done by uploading images into the home page. So instead of the client having to FTP in, all they do is add to the home page gallery in WordPress. And this scripting here just picks up any image in that home page gallery. and it just creates a slideshow out of it. So the client doesn't have to do anything extra. They can do everything through WordPress. And then we just bring in the regular content of the page, finish off our sidebar and footer, we're all done. So that gives you a sense of what we had to do in order to convert this site right here into this new WordPress site. A very, very simple process in many, many ways, and one that is very, very powerful because suddenly the client has much easier control over elements like this and elements like this. And of course the whole menu system, they found that much easier to use as well. So there were huge advantages to moving this site into WordPress.